Jack was walking in the park on a sunny Saturday. He saw a small brown dog sitting alone under a tree. The dog looked scared and had no collar. "Hello, little dog," Jack said softly. "Are you lost?" The dog wagged its tail but didn't move. Jack slowly approached and patted its head. He looked around, but he couldn't see anyone looking for a dog. "I'll help you find your home," Jack decided. First, Jack made some posters. He wrote, "Found dog small, brown, friendly. Call Jack, 555 1234. He put the posters up around the park and nearby streets. Then he walked around the neighborhood with the dog. Jack asked everyone he met, "Excuse me, have you lost a dog? Or do you know someone who has?" Many people were nice, but no one knew the dog. An old lady said, "You're doing a good thing, young man. Keep trying." Jack felt tired, but he didn't give up. He took the dog to the local pet shop. The shop owner, Mrs. Green, was very helpful. "Let's check if the dog has a microchip," she suggested. Mrs. Green used a special tool to scan the dog. "Good news," she said. "There's a chip. I can call the owner." Jack waited nervously. Soon, a young woman rushed into the shop. "Buddy!" she cried. The dog ran to her, very happy. "Thank you so much for finding him," the woman said to Jack. "I was so worried." Jack felt proud. He had helped reunite Buddy with his owner. As he walked home, he thought about how good it feels to help others in the community. The next day, Jack woke up with a sense of purpose. He remembered the joy on the woman's face when she found Buddy, and he decided to spend his day helping others. He started by going back to the park, hoping to find more ways to be useful. In the park, Jack saw a group of children playing. One of them, a little girl named Emily, was crying. Jack approached her and asked, "What's wrong?" Emily wiped her tears and said, "I lost my ball and I can't find it anywhere." Jack smiled and said, "Don't worry, Emily. I'll help you find it." They searched together, looking under benches, behind trees, and in the bushes. Finally, Jack spotted the ball near the pond. He retrieved it and handed it to Emily. "Thank you, Jack," Emily exclaimed, hugging her ball tightly. As Jack continued his walk, he noticed an elderly man struggling to carry a heavy bag of groceries. Jack quickly offered his help. "Let me carry that for you, sir." The old man smiled gratefully. "Thank you, young man. My house is just around the corner." They walked together, chatting about the neighborhood and the old man's life. His name was Mr. Thompson, and he had lived in the area for over 50 years. When they reached Mr. Thompson's house, the old man invited Jack in for a cup of tea. "You're a kind boy, Jack," Mr. Thompson said. "It's rare to see someone your age so willing to help others." Jack blushed and replied, "I just like to help when I can." After tea, Jack continued his journey. He decided to visit the local animal shelter. When he arrived, he saw many dogs and cats waiting for a loving home. Jack spoke to the shelter manager, Mrs. Lopez, and asked if he could volunteer. "We could always use an extra pair of hands," Mrs. Lopez said with a warm smile. Jack spent the afternoon feeding the animals, cleaning their cages, and playing with them. He felt a deep sense of satisfaction, knowing he was making a difference in their lives. One dog in particular caught his attention. It was a small black and white puppy that looked just as scared as Buddy had been. "What's this one's story?" Jack asked Mrs. Lopez. "He was found abandoned in a nearby alley," she explained. "He's still very timid, but with some love and care, he'll come around." Jack decided to name the puppy Max. He spent extra time with Max, gently petting him and talking to him softly. By the end of the day, Max was wagging his tail and even gave Jack a few tentative licks on his hand. The following week, Jack continued to visit the animal shelter. He developed a routine, helping out every afternoon after school. Each day, he grew more attached to Max, and Max seemed to trust Jack more and more. They formed a special bond, and Jack wished he could adopt Max himself. One day, while playing with Max, Jack noticed a family looking at the dogs. They seemed very interested in Max, and Jack felt a pang of sadness at the thought of Max leaving. The family approached Mrs. Lopez, asking about the adoption process. Jack listened as Mrs. Lopez explained the steps. The family seemed kind and loving, and Jack knew they would be good for Max. Still, it was hard to think about saying goodbye. When Mrs. Lopez came over to talk to Jack, she said, "Jack, this family is interested in adopting Max. I know you've grown close to him, and I wanted to let you know first." Jack took a deep breath and nodded. "I understand. Max deserves a good home." The family met Max, and it was clear that they adored him. Max seemed happy too, wagging his tail and licking their hands. Jack watched with mixed emotions as they completed the paperwork. Before they left, the family thanked Jack for taking such good care of Max. They promised to give him a wonderful home and even offered to keep in touch with Jack, sending updates and pictures. As Max left with his new family, Jack felt a tear roll down his cheek. He knew he would miss Max terribly, but he was also happy that Max had found a forever home. Jack felt proud of himself for helping Max and for being a part of his journey to happiness. Over the next few months, Jack continued to volunteer at the animal shelter. He met many more animals and helped them find loving homes. He even received updates from Max's new family, who sent pictures and stories about Max's new adventures. Jack realized that his experience with Buddy and Max had changed him. He had discovered a passion for helping animals and a deep sense of empathy for others. He knew that he wanted to continue making a difference in the world, one act of kindness at a time. As Jack walked through the park one evening, he thought about all the lives he had touched. He smiled, knowing that he had made a positive impact on his community. And he knew that no matter where life took him, he would always carry the lessons of compassion and kindness in his heart.